Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the biggest stars in the world and some of my favourite people. And we've got one for you today. An old friend of the programme, Barbara Taylor Bradford, has got a brand new book out called Cavender Luck. And it tells the story of the war years and camaraderie and friendship and love. And of course, the backbone of all of that was Winston Churchill. We're going to talk about all of that today. And I'm delighted to say Miss Bradford joins us on the phone right now. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, except I've got a cold.
Don't worry at all. I'm really honoured that you're talking to us. And firstly, congratulations. Here you are again. Another year passes and another top-selling book, New York bestseller list. You're amazing, aren't you? It's a remarkable career.
Well, thank you, and it's lovely to talk to you again. We spoke when you were with Radio Leeds.
That's right. Leeds in Yorkshire has a big place in your heart, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And the Cavender series... I want to say this, Alex, about the Cavender Luck. It is a part of the series. It's the third book, but anybody can pick it up and read it as a standalone book, because in part one of the book is 1938, and you meet all the people that were in the other books, and new people as well. And if you haven't read the others, you understand quickly about the relationship between two families, the Swans and the Inghams. So if you've not read the others, you can still read this and not be baffled. The second part of the book is, of course, 1939 to 1945.
It's interesting, when I look at the reviews of your book and having read about 60 pages in so far since they sent it to me, your character development is superb. And I think that's what has defined you as an amazing author. You know how to weave a story, don't you? And that's a massive skill.
Well, you know what happened when I've always been a journalist. I went from journalism to writing fiction because I'd always wanted to write fiction. And I started about 4 books, which I didn't finish. I just put them away and wrote another one, or tried to. The first book I finished and was pleased with was A Woman of Substance. But when I was starting A Woman of Substance, I read an interview with Graham Greene, and he... I think it was still alive, or it might have been the reprint of an old story, because I read it in the mid-70s. It was about 1976. I read this interview, and the reporter said, "One last question. What do you think about when you sit down at your desk every morning? What is the first thing you think?" And he said, "Character is plot." And I instantly knew what he meant was the character of the protagonist. What was that person? Who was that person? And what kind of character did he or she have? And the character, what you are as a human being, is going to tell your story. Character is destiny, in other words. What you are will tell you how to lead your life. And I instantly knew that I had to create a protagonist and be absolutely sure what kind of character they had. Were they good? Were they bad? And whatever they were, it would lead them to lead a certain kind of life.
Seems to me that the two go hand in hand, being a journalist and a novelist, because you've got to have an inquisitive mind and a colourful mind and a way with words. The two are very similar, aren't they?
Yes, they are. And the only other thing, though, as a novelist, you have to lie. You know, you have to be able to lie because you're inventing things that never happened. If you're a journalist, you've got to tell the truth because you're reporting about real people.
Yes.
If you're a novelist, you have an imagination, and you must have an imagination to be able to invent things that didn't happen. So that's the only difference.
When you look at the world today, I mean, you've been around a while and you've been opinionated in the past about the world. And I look at one of your heroes, Winston Churchill, and of course, Clementine, that letter that has been just so remarkable. The pickup on the press has been fascinating. And we're also compelled by him because, of course, he was such a charismatic personality. When you look around today, do you wish there were more Churchills around? Because he seemed to know his own opinion, which many people don't these days.
Look, I think he was he was voted in at the turn of the century. 16 years ago, he was voted the greatest Briton. I think it was a BBC thing, a poll. He was deemed to be the greatest man of the 20th century. And I said to my husband, no, of any century. And I believe, I always say they threw the mold away. Yeah. There has never been anybody that I know of who has been comparable to him. And there aren't any people today. They don't exist. I don't know why, but they don't. I mean, I think we've got a bunch of idiots running countries around the world. I'm not going to say in England, but in countries around the world, other countries around the world. Yeah. People don't know what they're doing. You see, what he had was an extraordinary gift. Yeah. He had a rhetoric, and he was a wonderful orator. He spoke beautifully, but the choice of his words kept England going, kept Britain going in 1940 when we stood alone. That's all he had to give us at that moment. We didn't have really a proper air force. We had hardly any army. We had a good navy. We'd always had a good navy because we're an island. But he had to keep us not happy. We couldn't be happy, but he had to inspire in us. I was a child, so I say us, I mean the British people. He had to inspire the confidence that he had that we would win. He had to give people hope and a sense of security, and he did it for 1 year with words.
Yeah, he did.
And I remember sitting with my parents as a little girl, listening to the wireless with these speeches. And, of course, I use a lot of them in the Cavender Luck. And he does run all the way through the book in the sense of the fact that he had warned everyone for years that Germany was rearming, and nobody had paid any attention. And then on May 10th, my birthday, he walked into number 10 Downing Street. It was May 10th, 1940. And in doing so, he became Prime Minister. He battled through. He talked Roosevelt into Lend-Lease. And, of course, they came in after Pearl Harbor and helped us. But he saved this nation, and he saved Western civilization. So you find me some person like that, and I'll vote for him.
Yeah, I wonder what he'd make of the world today, because at least he knew who his enemy was. When we look at just the last week of news, it is devastating, and I don't know what the answer is. I don't know whether you do, but it is such a terrible world in a sense that we're not quite sure who we should be angry the most at.
Well, I think what it is, in the past, we fought a country who have either invaded us or tried to invade us. All through history, we fought a country. What we're doing now is, well, it's like guerrilla warfare, isn't it? It's ISIS, and you don't know where it's going to spring up. My God, it just sprang up in Orlando.
Oh, no, crazy.
In America, in Florida. So who do you fight? I read in the paper the other day, in the Wall Street Journal, that the FBI are monitoring 1,000 terrorists in America. They're monitoring them, but we don't know where they are, and they could spring up anywhere. That's the problem. It's not like going to war against the Germans and the Nazi regime, going to war with Japan because they attacked the American fleet in Pearl Harbor. There isn't an army to a country, although, in fact, they do have a base in Syria, and they do have a leader called al-Baghdadi. But what do you think you do? I would want to think that we would be wise enough to create a coalition army of European and English and American troops and go in and destroy them. I mean, I think that's the only thing you can do, because it is a war. Yeah,
it is. It's a bit like taking the war on blindfolded, though, isn't it? You can't really see them because they're everywhere.
As I said, it's like a guerrilla warfare.
Yeah. Yeah.
But look, who am I that we've got cleverer people than me?
Well, me too.
Who don't seem to know what to do.
No, I don't think anybody does. That's the problem. Then we look at your life today living in New York. You made that choice to move over there. A very interesting time currently in America. I was just there for 5 weeks taping in Las Vegas and seeing some of those videos of Trump's speeches. What do you think Churchill had made of him? Because he's a character, isn't he, in a different way?
I mean, I don't know how to answer that because I know him personally.
Right.
Not intimately, but I know Donald and Melania. I know them and they're very nice and he's a very normal sort of person to meet socially. But I know he does get on television and I don't know if something happens in front of a camera. And he's not entirely the person I know.
Right.
He has opinions. I think he's a good businessman. My understanding from people who work with him, whom I know on this campaign, say that he has got already a team picked out, which would be people like Mayor Giuliani, ex-Mayor Giuliani, who was a wonderful mayor and kept New York City calm and
during 9/11.
That he would be for Homeland Security. Chris Christie would be Attorney General. Other people would take big roles because he's a businessman, not a politician. But you see, it's because he's not a politician that everybody is voting for him. He got more votes than the Republican Party has ever had in its history.
Do you think he's the man to get America back on its feet as he describes it? Would you vote for him?
You see, I have two passports. I'm British, so I have a British passport.
Yeah.
And I have an American passport. So I've got dual nationality. I can only vote in the country I'm a resident of. And at this moment, I'm a resident of America, not in Great Britain. So I can't vote here unless I come back and live here. Then I can vote because I'm British.
Yeah.
But so I have to vote in America because I'm living there. And frankly, I really don't know what I'm going to do. I think it's people have asked me about do we stay or do we Brexit? Do we remain in Europe?
Yeah.
The answer to that is I don't know because we don't know. Nobody knows what will be the result either way. We just don't know. People can make guesses, but we just don't know. And of course the scare tactics. So I think most people in England, in Britain, will make that decision at the last minute. And that's what I feel about voting in America. I'm not sure that I don't vote gender, so it doesn't matter to me that Hillary Clinton's a woman. That has nothing to do with it. As far as I'm concerned, you have to vote for the person who you think will make a better president.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, it's all very confusing right now. I'm like you. I have no idea on Europe. I hear people screaming one way and screaming the other way, and all I hear is noise in the end.
Well, that everybody is using scare tactics. This is going to happen, and that's going to happen. I can only say this, Alex. What I've always found very difficult to stomach, if that's the word I can use like that, is the fact that so many things are controlled by foreigners in Great Britain, in particular our justice system. Why should a bunch of people in Brussels and Stuttgart control our judges? You see, they've taken this human rights thing too far. The other thing that I think has always been wrong, and I'll go to my grave saying this, why, in God's name, did Europe have that law, Schengen, I think, or whatever, you'd have to look that up, but it's a place in France. They made a decision to not have any borders. Why?
Well, it seems to me immigration is the biggest issue both in America and here right now, and that's what people are voting on at both elections, isn't it?
I agree with you because, particularly here, we're a little island and we're starting to sink under the weight of foreigners coming in. And that may sound biased, and I'm not a biased person, but there's only so many people we can take in here, and there's only so many people that can be taken in America. And the difficulty is with the refugees that are coming out of Syria is there's no way to check who they are because there's no government to check with. I don't want to sound hard, but I am a tough person and I have had in my life to make tough decisions. And being tough is being a survivor. Being hard is being without emotion and without compassion. So tough is not a bad word. I do think that we have to take a stand, whichever way this vote comes out next week. I think if we stay in Europe, they have to make a move to start making the European Union change some of the things they do. And the first thing is to give Britain borders, and France borders, and Germany borders. It was good for 2,000 years. We've had borders.
Yes.
Suddenly we don't.
Yes, it's a very good point. Yeah, it's a very good point. And then we look at the world around us. Just today, breaking news, Cliff Richard has been cleared of all charges. It is amazing to me that one man can make an accusation and your whole life can be turned upside down and potentially your career ended. It's shocking that, isn't it, for people in show business to be named and shamed without any basis of truth in some cases.
I agree with you totally. I didn't know that because I've been doing interviews on the phone all morning, but you're the only person that's told me, and I'm glad he's been cleared. I never thought for one moment that he'd done anything wrong. He's a legend. He's a talented man. He's actually knighted, isn't he, Sir?
Sir Cliff Richard, yeah.
Yes, well, thank God that somebody came to their senses. I mean, there's this rush to judgment from one person. It could be some nutcase who's invented it all. And somehow our police get duped into charging in with really no reason to do so, believing a nobody against somebody who's famous and might have some imagined grudge, So I'm thrilled to know he's been cleared. I bet he is too.
Yeah, it's just a shame that it takes so long, and it's that naming and shaming. I don't know how you feel about it, but it seems to me we've got to change the law on that, whether it's a famous person or not. One person making an accusation does not make you guilty. That's
right. And I think the police should understand that. But they've been hand-slapped quite a lot lately, the British police, haven't they?
Yes,
because
they have.
They've made a lot of accusations about a lot of people that have proven not true. But, it doesn't really, to be clear, it doesn't really make up for the years of tragedy that you've gone through. No. The sorrow, the shame, and the perhaps anger because you're innocent. We have a justice system in this country which is different, I think, to the one in France. In France, you're guilty until proven innocent. That comes from the Napoleonic laws from Napoleon. In this country, you're innocent until proven guilty. And to me, nobody ever proved Cliff Richard guilty.
No. And today we wish him well, and he can relive his life. At 75, he can get back on stage with his head held high. That's what we say.
Yes, that's right. I hope he can do it. He might be so disappointed that this has happened in his own country that he might not want to do it again. So damaging to the psyche, and not so much ego, but the psyche of a person.
Yeah. We wish him well. Finally, back to you. We've talked about all kinds of things. I could literally talk to you all day. You're so fascinating. But when we look back at your life and the 30-plus novels that you've written, the 90 million copies that you've sold, it's an amazing legacy and proof of your talent. I guess that for any author is the proof of the pudding, isn't it? You need to sell books and you continue to do so, which is an incredible achievement.
Yes, and I find I did a tea for the Lady magazine yesterday, a women's tea. I was interviewed on stage by that lovely woman, Angela Rippon.
Yes.
And, they sold out and they didn't have a bigger room where we did it at the Caledonian Club. And it's lovely that they all come and come and see me and buy the books and want to talk to me, and I'm thrilled.
Wow.
And I'm thrilled that the press still want to talk to me after 35 years as a novelist.
Well, it's because you're good at what you do. It's an interesting time for women, isn't it? Because especially with Hillary running as potentially the first female president, it seems to me that tokenism doesn't work. If you've got talented, you should be pushed to the front, and there should just be a level playing field for all. And you've proved you can make it if you're good.
I was told by my mother growing up in Yorkshire when I was a little girl and I wanted to be a writer. We knew that then. She said, if you're disciplined and you work hard and you really are serious about it, but especially if you work hard, you can have anything you want in this world.
The greatest legacy for you of all and your greatest achievement is what?
Oh, I don't know. I've never thought of that. What is my greatest achievement? Staying alive and keeping going, and still with a bright brain that is kept bright and active and intelligent, because I work every day. My greatest achievement is to still be working in my, well, I'm 83 now. I don't look it, and I
you
don't
certainly
feel
don't.
it. And I think that's my greatest achievement, to still be writing novels.
Yeah. Is there any key to that? I mean, you look so fabulous, and it's incredible to see these pictures just this week put in the press. You look amazing. You love looking glamorous. I mean, what I love about you is you're old school. You take care and attention and time for that stuff, and it's wonderful. I love that.
Well, I was brought up by my mother and father that you should look nice, and they always look nice. And I do it not only for my husband and the press and friends, I do it for myself. Yeah. It's my own pride that makes me want to look nice. Yes. It pleases me. It makes me feel better. Yeah. And it just means you have to work a bit harder, and you don't have to drink too much or smoke. I'm always avoiding fattening food. But I just read the other day that the Queen's good health is that when she's not having to have state dinners, she eats very simply, like I do. You know, not too much fat and sugar, simple meals, lots of vegetables, not much booze, and I've got very good health, Alex. I don't drink much. I'll have a glass of champagne or a glass of wine. When we're at home, Bob and I rarely have a wine with our dinner. We might have a cocktail before dinner. And I think it's looking after yourself. And, of course, I use all sorts of good creams that they have these days. You don't have to go under a knife anymore. You can put creams that take away wrinkles. So I have a lot of those creams that help to keep my face.
You certainly look fabulous on it.
Well, thank you.
You really do. Does your heart sink when you switch on the TV and see these girls on reality TV wearing those tracksuit bottoms and things, and they just don't care anymore? It is a shame, isn't it?
I do, but I don't turn that on very much. I notice when I travel how sloppy some people look. What I noticed on a lot of television, whether it's America or here, is that there's a lot of sort of daring nudity, which I find quite repulsive when you've got breasts hanging out and dresses cut halfway down the back. You know? I find all that a bit vulgar. Yeah. I think a beautiful face and a lovely figure is great, but let's have it in something that doesn't show body parts. Yeah.
Barbara Taylor Bradford's brand new book is out now. It's called The Cavender Luck, and it is truly wonderful, beautifully written, as are all of your books. I wish you all the success in the future, and I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you, Alex. Next year with the new one.
We will. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.